Life isn't just about the temporary struggles in front of us. It's also about poetry, about faraway dreams. But how many of us truly dare to leave behind the worries of daily life, the endless chase for money, desires, and ambitions, to pursue something as abstract and uncertain as poetry and the faraway? The truth is, very few. Stepping away from comfort to follow your heart sounds romantic. But it also demands courage. Courage to walk away from the stability most people crave. Like the brilliant novelist Somerset Maugham wrote in The Moon and Sixpence, most people don't become what they want to be, but what they have to be. The moon represents dreams. The sixpence represents reality. So, which one will you choose? Will you look up and chase the glowing moon in the sky? Or lower your head for the sake of a handful of rice in this life? Everyone has their own answer. In a previous video, Becoming Better shared the story from Walden, the real-life tale of Henry David Thoreau. At 28, Thoreau left behind a promising future in all worldly pursuits. With only an axe, he built himself a cabin in the woods beside the serene Walden Pond to live alone, in simplicity. Some called his decision selfish. You have family, parents, responsibilities. How could anyone just walk away like that? But others found profound inspiration in his choice. They realized it was time to stop living a life shaped by others, and instead start living as their true selves, in rhythm with their inner calling. Seeing these two opposing reactions, I couldn't help but wonder, what causes such divided views? And how can we, each in our own way, live a life without regret? That question led me back to The Moon and Sixpence. And suddenly, things became clearer. Welcome back to Becoming Better, your space for personal growth through great books and thoughtful reflections. In this video, I want to talk about a powerful idea. Your awareness determines your direction in life. And there's no better example of that than in The Moon and Sixpence, the timeless masterpiece by Somerset Maugham, one of the most beloved British writers of the early 20th century. The story centers on Charles Strickland, a London stockbroker. He had everything most people want: a stable job, a good income, a beautiful home in the city, a gentle wife, 2 lovely children, and a respected place in society. From the outside, it was a picture-perfect life. Then one day, at age 40, he vanished. He left behind only a short note to his wife. "I'm not coming back." He went to Paris, alone, to become a painter. No goodbye. No explanations. To many, this was madness. He gave up everything for a vague dream, without money, without talent, so people thought, and with no clear future. He lived in poverty. He worked odd jobs just to survive. Every bit of spare money went into buying paint. He locked himself away in tiny rented rooms just to create. He didn't care about food, clothes, or comfort. He only cared about painting. People called him foolish. Too old to start over. No formal training. No guaranteed outcome. But Strickland once said something unforgettable. "You call me a fool. I say you are the fool. I have to paint. I cannot help it." When someone is drowning, it doesn't matter whether they're a good swimmer or not. They either fight to survive, or they drown. Let that sink in. Do you need to be fully prepared, fully equipped, fully ready to chase your dreams? Or do you just start, because your soul cannot bear not to? So, is Strickland foolish? Or are we the foolish ones, those who use others' standards of success to measure our lives? And spend our one precious life enduring unhappiness because we're afraid to take a leap? Psychologist Carl Jung once said, "People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul." So I ask you, are you chasing the moon, or settling for sixpence? Whatever your answer is, I hope this reflection helps you gain more clarity, confidence, and compassion for your own path. But only those who dare to confront their soul truly wake up. Strickland was one of those rare souls. He had the courage to step out of his comfort zone and chase after his dream. To him, material wealth wasn't the highest priority, it was something light, something disposable. For some, it's a treasure to guard. For others, it's just a worn-out shoe, ready to be tossed aside. The choice is always yours. Countless people out there only dare to steal a glance at the moon, and then look back down to continue chasing sixpence. Because that's what they think they need to survive. In this story, the moon symbolizes the noble ideals, the inner callings, the dreams that light up our spirit. The sixpence, a coin of little value, represents the practical burdens of everyday life. We live in a world flooded with sixpence, where people cling to security and chase fleeting pleasures, bowing their heads to the pressures of life. Aren't we, in a way, slaves to time? Caught in the net of relationships, responsibilities, and expectations, forgetting the very dreams we once held dear, numb from trying to become someone. But if you only look down to pick up coins, you'll miss the moon that was always shining above you. Each of us has a stream inside, a little current that flows quietly. Only those who dare to say, "Life is short, I want to live it my way," can transform that stream into a deep river or a wide ocean. Now, if you think mom was just feeding you some toxic positivity, you've misunderstood him. This isn't blind inspiration, it's awareness. As German philosopher Schopenhauer once said, "The greatest prison people live in is the fear of what others think." The thing that binds a person is not their job, their wealth, or their family. It's their perception, how they choose to see life. Change your awareness, and your life direction changes. Whether you feel fulfilled or empty, it's your inner awareness that defines it. Even in the Moon and Sixpence, awareness shapes the choices of each character. Strickland's wife, she was elegant, respected, and proud. To her, life was supposed to flow peacefully, like a calm river. But then, without warning, her husband disappeared, leaving behind only chaos. They had been married for 17 years. Yet the man she thought she knew turned out to be a stranger. Not because he cheated, but because he chose painting over her, over the kids, over everything. She felt betrayed, humiliated, broken. But when her world collapsed, she woke up. She got up, learned to type, rented out rooms, sold their belongings, and moved into a smaller house. And guess what? The world kept turning. Through hard work, her career began to flourish. Her children thrived. Eventually, she moved to a new city and returned to high society. Not as someone's wife, but through her own strength. To her, relying on others was never noble. True pride came from standing on her own. From living a life that looked good from the outside and felt strong on the inside. That was her truth. Awareness shapes priorities. And once your priorities shift, so does the path you walk. Strickland placed art above all else. He gave up everything to paint. His wife placed dignity and social status above all. And she worked tirelessly to achieve them. You reap what you sow. And perhaps, it's no coincidence that two people who once shared a life for 17 years ultimately walked in different directions. Because the way they viewed the world had changed. As another philosopher once said, "I respect any independent soul. I may not agree with all of them, but I will try my best to understand them." Some people love the moonlight, dreamy and distant. Some prefer the solid, shining sixpence in their hands. There is no right or wrong, only different truths. So the question is no longer, what's better, the moon or the sixpence? But rather, what does your heart truly long for? And are you brave enough to follow it? Though people may struggle to connect, mutual respect is always better than judgment. You don't need to tiptoe through life, constantly living in the shadow of someone else's expectations. But neither do you need to point fingers or criticize others for the way they live. There is no single measuring stick for life's priorities. The only thing that truly matters is that you face your soul honestly, live as your true self, and give your all. That's the core message the author wants to leave with us. Your awareness shapes how you live, how you love, and how you treat others. In The Moon and Sixpence, there's another unforgettable character, Stroeve, a struggling artist. In his early 30s, balding, and not especially talented, he seemed clumsy in his painting. But he had one gift, an extraordinary eye for recognizing genius. And he was the only one who truly understood Strickland's paintings. When Strickland fell ill, Stroeve didn't hesitate. Despite his wife's protests, he brought him home and cared for him. But life took a cruel turn. Though Stroeve's wife had always disliked Strickland, it was clear, from the moment she saw him, she was drawn to him. And as the days of caretaking went on, their connection deepened. Eventually, she fell for Strickland and wanted to leave with him. Stroeve, heartbroken and torn, chose to step aside. Out of love for his wife, and admiration for Strickland's artistic talent, he gave them his home and his blessing, hoping they would find happiness. But it didn't last. Strickland, true to form, abandoned her not long after. To many, he seemed heartless, cruel, a terrible man in love. But the truth was, Strickland never saw love as his calling. For him, art always came first. He wasn't interested in romance, in companionship, in emotional ties. So he let her go, because to him, love was a distraction. Stroeve's wife craved romantic love. She didn't care about what others thought, but she needed closeness, presence, warmth. Strickland couldn't give her that. So in the end, their different awareness, their different values, tore them apart. As for Stroeve, when he heard of his wife's death, his world collapsed. She had taken her own life for the love of another man. Yet Stroeve's love for her never faded. Even in sorrow, he remained kind. He even invited Strickland to live with him again. Still believing in the purity of art, still offering forgiveness. Stroeve is one of the novel's most touching figures. He's like the farmer who rescues a poisonous snake, gets bitten, and still embraces it. His life is a paradox, a man mocked for being weak, yet possessing a strength of heart few can match. People often misunderstood him. Short, heavy-set, often mistaken for a bumbling fool. But inside, he held a refined artistic eye. And even though his paintings were imperfect, artificial, warped, lacking realism, he was genuine, incapable of deceit, always giving more than he received. He was mocked by peers, betrayed by his wife. But he never stopped helping others. Giving without expectation, forgiving without hesitation. That is what makes him great. Some say Stroeve was foolish and pitiful. Others, more awakened, see his nobility. It all comes back to awareness. The way we treat others stems from how we see the world. Some people live joyfully, helping others without asking for anything in return. Some live selfishly, chasing only what benefits them. But no matter how harsh life becomes, there is always a place for you. A place where your clear conscience and love for all things can find peace. Your awareness determines your actions. So no matter what others do, follow your conscience. Live fully. Give love freely. The novel says this, too. Live as you wish. In the place you feel at peace. Free from struggle. In harmony with your spirit. That's not naivety. That's clarity. That's a life guided by awareness. Everyone defines success differently. For some, it's fame and fortune. For others, it's peace, stillness, freedom. The life you choose depends entirely on the awareness you cultivate. So how do we live a life we won't regret? As Adler once said, you are not alive to fulfill other people's expectations. And they're not alive to fulfill yours. Listen to your heart. Choose the life that makes sense to you. That is the truest success. We can't squeeze human life into narrow boxes labeled success, failure, good, or bad. Everyone walks a different path. And no one has the right to judge which path is higher or lower. As long as you love it, that's enough. Van Gogh once said, "Everyone has a fire in their heart. Some people only see the smoke. But you live for that flame. Whether you gaze at the stars or walk the earth, live the way you want. As long as your soul feels no conflict, no regret, that is enough." And those who never stop chasing their dreams, who live with sincerity and courage, they are beautiful souls. So here's my wish for both you and me. May we live a life we truly desire. A life with meaning. A life lived with heart. Thank you for being here. If this message moved you, feel free to share it with someone who needs it. Support Becoming Better with a like, a follow, and click the notification bell to stay connected. See you in the next video. Until then, live well and live true.